Good evening, everyone. It's 5 o'clock. Is Emily Lane? Oh, there's Emily. All right. I believe all board members are here, and so I'll call the October 27th meeting of the El Segundo Unified School District Board of Education to order. And Tracy Miller-Zarnicki will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody would mute themselves as we say the pledge, that will be less confusing for all of us, I think.
All right, then. Please place your hand over your heart. Stand if you can stand and face the flags on your screen or whatever's nearby. Ready? Here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me change my screen view. All right, I can see everybody. I'd like to report that 2 actions were taken in closed session. The Board of Education took action in closed session to approve a settlement agreement in response to the California government claim by Graves Construction Services. In a vote of 5-0, the board approved a settlement in the amount of $130,000. The amount will be distributed by way of change order number 1 in the amount of $47,603.68 and the release of the remaining contract allowance, change order number 2, in the amount of $82,396.32. In closed session, the board also approved the following student matters. Student matter number 1, student number 19345. No other action was taken in closed session. We are now at our agenda hearing period. There were no public comments submitted for tonight's board meeting, so I have no comments to read. Next, we'll move right along to Benny Villa and his student representative report.
Hello, everyone. To begin, is my audio messed up?
No, you're fine.
Okay. To begin, we are currently in Red Ribbon Week. We are having a Padlet post where students can post things that they do to stay, mentally fit or physically fit to just wait to get through quarantine. On Monday, we had a spirit day where you just dress up red. Last Thursday, October 22nd, we had our second virtual trivia night. We had more teams signed up. I think we had 22 teams signed up with over 85 players. It was Halloween events, or as Halloween themed. Next, we had our first student senate meeting last Tuesday, which was all of the club leaders and led by the vice president, in which they talk about school activities and ways they can connect with students more. This past week, we had grades 9 through 11 with their yearbook photos, which went very smooth. We got those taken care of. Due to the Spirit Week 2 weeks ago, the final results, the seniors got first place with teachers close behind them. And though their prize, we were able to pick up a Becker's cookie on Friday in front of the high school. And that is all.
All right, thank you, Benny. Next, we have a presentation and update on distance learning and next steps for Center Street and Richmond Street schools. Dr.
Yes, it's with a great deal of pleasure that I call forward Dr. Alice Lee and Dr. Martha Monahan to share information regarding distance learning. Typically at this time of year, we are sharing with the board our State of the Schools address, and we do a deep dive into our state testing assessments and where we see any gaps and next steps. Well, with COVID-19 pandemic, that's going to look a little different this year. I am pleased to say that they will be incorporating data regarding our important parent survey that went out in the spring and make some comparisons as to the feedback we've received up to this date in time. So welcome, Dr. Monahan and Dr. Lee. It appears both of you are unmuted. Can you hear us?
I think I'm unmuted, but I'm working on sharing my video. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Okay.
You have a hat on, Dr. Monahan.
I do have a hat on, Dr. Moore. You may see a few more. We have a theme. So is Dr. Lee on?
I'm on here, but my camera is not turning on. So we're going to just work with it, and I will present with my voice only. I'm so sorry. My video is not on.
I see Mr. Oleshik has a hat on as well.
Does he really? That's a surprise. So we'll go forward, even though we don't have Dr. Lee in on video. Hopefully it'll be figured out while I'm talking. So welcome. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Moore, the El Segundo community. We are truly excited about sharing the work that's being done at our elementary schools, and we're grateful for the opportunity to present a snapshot of what's happening with you tonight. Teachers, administrators, and staff have navigated the unfamiliar territory of distance learning in 2020. And Dr. Lee and I are here tonight with our assistant principal, Mr. Oleshik, and our instructional coach, Ms. Leonard, to share some of that journey with you. We're going to sail through the highlights from last year, then examine where we are now before navigating into the not too distant future. Welcome to the jungle.
So we wanted to start this presentation by sharing about the successes and highlights for the past year leading into distance learning school closure. While this time has been tumultuous, we are so proud of our teachers and staff who have immediately shifted their practice multiple times and have met adversity with strength, creativity, and tenacity. Next slide, Dr. Monahan. One of the most wonderful highlights from the summer was the ESUSD Tech and Things conference that our teachers, specifically from Richmond, prepared and provided for fellow colleagues across ESUSD on topics of pedagogy, technology, and social emotional learning, race, equity, and inclusion over 4 full days. It was truly one of the best conferences I have been to. The conference was focused on preparing teachers for the fall semester with distance learning, ensuring that we were not only prepared, but that our lessons would be creative and engaging for our students. Trainings for all teachers were provided for the online platforms, Altitude and Seesaw, and trainings for intervention programs such as Lexia were also provided.
As you can see from this slide, we had many wonderful highlights at both elementary sites. Some of them include that both sites participated in instructional walkthroughs where every teacher opened up their classroom for their peers to come in and observe. These walkthroughs raised the level of teacher efficacy and collaboration at each site. The momentum support we had at the last school year supported every teacher, TK through 5th, in leveling up our ELA instruction in whole group, small group, and individual settings. The Momentum PD supported teachers in vertical articulation as well as in-class coaching support. Teachers from both sites participated in the COTSN Empowered Learning Conference and presented on Ruler, SEL, and CGI. It was an honor for our teachers to represent our district, where teachers from across Southern California districts attended.
Oh, wait, am I muted? Sorry.
We can hear you now.
Okay,
We didn't hear you at
sorry.
first. Thank you.
I'll try again. In the 5 months of 2019, when we were in school, we did a lot of great work. We completely redesigned our special education program through a universal design for learning lens, improving access and rigor to support and challenge students. Our classroom teachers dove deep into student data to refine instruction. They also led or presented in professional development to build their capacity, and were awarded several grants, one of which brought Joan Case, a nationally recognized CGI expert, to center stage. We're also very proud of our student council, for being awarded the Department of Education's Civic Learning Award of Merit for our community building and our philanthropic work with UNICEF.
Okay, next one. So Richmond has many highlights to share from 2019-2020. Our fifth grade teachers who have already been involved with personalized learning for the past 3 years, once again pivoted and participated in the first official year with the district AMP cohort. This involvement prepared our teachers and students for distance learning. We are continuing our extended learning book clubs outside of Monday staff meetings. We hosted 16 days of site visits to schools and organizations across Southern California, highlighting our practices in ruler, readers, writers, and math workshop. We are so proud that our school has become a lab school for workshop practices. Our teachers and I have also had the privilege of presenting at multiple conferences, and I was proudly able to represent Altoona Unified during my trip to South Korea in the winter, just speaking to love and joy of literacy. We partnered with Mattel on exciting projects, including Barbie's Dream Gap project, and created a toy club. And during distance learning, Mrs. Alashan and I had weekly read alouds to students. And most recently, two of our teachers, Ms. Varghese and Ms. Fagoni, collaborated with the Special Olympics president, Tim Shriver, on social emotional wellness. So here's some pictures of some of the things that we've done.
So as a former math teacher, data is something that's near and dear to my heart. So we are going to start off by sharing some of the demographic data from both Richmond Street and Center Street. I believe that's available on the next slide there. Can definitely peruse that at your leisure, but pretty similar between the two school sites despite the difference in the overall population of the students. On the next slide, a particular piece of data that we're very proud of is our very high attendance rate. And this is an incredible testament to our teachers and the level of instruction that they're providing, along with the high levels of engagement. We also are experiencing very high engagement numbers across the board, which would translate to very low disengagement numbers for those students that maybe aren't accessing the curriculum as much as we would like. However, we are following a tiered and progressive program to help with the re-engagement of those students that are struggling a little bit. That includes both the families, parents, teachers, front office staff, and administration, following a balanced approach that's taking into account both the family's individual needs as well as the importance of daily synchronous and asynchronous learning.
At the end of the school year in the spring, the district surveyed families on what would be most helpful for students to succeed in the fall, given that we would also continue in the distance learning model. 77.5% of families stated that having a set, structured schedule was extremely important. 71% wanted live synchronous online class time, and 71% felt that it was important for their children to see and interact with their classmates during the synchronous learning sessions. We listened and met each of these methods for the distance learning program in the fall and currently for all students. Dr. Monahan, you're muted.
Thank you, sorry. When we were thrown into the unknown waters of distance learning last year, our teachers jumped in with a few days' notice and pushed out lessons to students using the few tools that were available to them at the time. Reflecting on the survey information that we received from parents, we were very responsive, increasing our face-to-face time with students as well as the expectations for all learners. As you can see, in the spring, 45% of our families felt that students did not have enough time with their teachers. And in the spring and in the fall, that had dropped to 15%, with 69% of families feeling that their children had just the right amount of time to engage with their teacher. And it's even more important to consider the emotions of our students during remote instruction. Our ESUSD elementary school students are feeling less bored, more connected, less isolated, more independent, more confident, and more motivated than they felt last spring.
Distance learning is great, but if you don't have the device to actually connect to distance learning, it's not as valuable as it could be. So Center Street and Richmond Street, we're proud to provide more than 800 devices to individual students, both Chromebooks and iPads, to allow those students to access their daily online curriculum and Zoom calls with their teachers and classmates, as well as providing approximately 40 hotspots to families and students who are having trouble connecting, or for whom that connection would be a great financial impact. So we're really making sure that all of our students not only are able to connect, but have that technology in hand to allow them to do so.
So an important piece this year, and truly every year, is family engagement. As we partner together between home and school, clear communication and collaboration is critical to ensure a smooth learning environment for students. Next slide, Dr. One of the most important methods for clearly and concisely communicating with families regarding expectations for student learning is sharing what the essential learnings or standards are for each grade level in literacy and in math. Both elementary sites shared these essential learnings at the back to school night, both at 2019 and 2020 school year, as well as the 2020-2021 school year. These essential standards were readdressed and shared during the spring distance learning period to ensure and to provide some solace for families, knowing that their kids are not falling behind, but in fact, they are still learning and they are still growing during this time. An example, Dr. Monahan, an example of essential learnings are these kindergarten standards for literacy and math. Sharing of these essential learnings and standards for families and teachers is that these are the most essential skills in the particular grade level that students should be learning and mastering throughout the year.
Stakeholders, parents, teachers, and program leads came together to support our families this fall. We offered workshops for our families to build engagement and connection. We shared information regarding pedagogy, social emotional learning, family support at home, and platform support for parents on Altitude and Seesaw. Additionally, multiple parent office hours were offered for families to come ask any questions they had regarding these platforms. We hope to continue offering this type of support as the year continues. Families that attended the workshops were so grateful for the support, and as presenters, we appreciated the feedback and connection with our families.
As you know, educators are planners, and although we've had to test the flexibility of our entire community, we feel very confident navigating forward with the experience that we've had and the tools that we are using right now to optimize learning, whether virtual or in person.
Our teachers have worked so hard and with so much dedication this summer to make the transition for our students of starting a school year virtually as seamless as possible. This summer, our teachers attended trainings for Altitude Learning and Seesaw, the learning journey. We had a phenomenal turnout for both elementary sites that attended the trainings. Teachers were able to interact with the platform both as an educator and as a mock student. For example, many of our teachers started collaboration courses for their grade levels in the platform to share their Altitude cards and began planning for the fall. During the planning times, teachers worked on building innovative and engaging cards and activities to support student achievement as well as social emotional well-being. Both platforms are user-friendly. Teachers have the ability to provide feedback to their students in multiple ways in order to support the various needs of our student population. The platforms also have the ability to connect our families so that they know in real time how their children are doing on a day-to-day basis in the classroom. And using Altitude in 3rd through 5th grade sets our students up to be successful once they get to ESMS. Our literacy and math programs helped provide a baseline benchmark for our teachers this fall that we could use to create thoughtful and intentional small groups to support the differentiated needs of our students. Additionally, programs such as Lexia, Freckle, and eSpark offer intervention support based on students' needs. Performance Matters and ESGI data management systems allow for our teachers to take previous year's data and this year's data to look for trends, patterns, and then make instructional moves to support best practices within our classrooms. Programs like Newsella and Ruler are supporting our students in growing as critical thinkers, empowered learners, and social emotional scientists. For example, teachers are using Newsela to teach our students about multiple perspectives, and one that is an important skill to develop. We recognize that by having to switch gears to distance learning in the spring and initially not knowing when we would be coming back impacted our students' learning. Taking information gathered from parents, teachers, and students, the issue of learning loss is being addressed through various district and formative benchmark assessments. We are using this data along with anecdotal notes and conversations amongst grade level teams regarding curriculum taught in the spring to help us make instructional plans to best meet the needs of our students and to continue a high level of delivery of instruction as well as student achievement. We have interventions for ELA and math, such as Lexia and Freckle, in place to support students who need an extra boost, as well as our reading specialists, Mrs. Hahn and Mrs. McCann, for intervention support. Additionally, as an instructional coach, I have the opportunity to jump into grade level meetings as well as engage in one-on-one coaching to be a thinking partner with many of my teachers to address how students are doing and what scaffolds we can put in place. For example, teachers and I have met to determine ways we can provide students feedback that was accessible, timely, and relevant.
So our administrative and maintenance staff have been making significant changes to our campuses to assure the safety of all of our students, teachers, and staff, as well as compliance with state and county reopening regulations. We've been implementing the cleaning and disinfecting protocols at Center Street School with our TLC students and with the many teachers who are teaching from their classes at Center Street right now. Richmond Street will be doing that when their windows are back in. We've also optimized our outdoor space for instruction and developed staggered schedules and directional maps to assure social distancing on campus when the students return. I cannot tell you how excited we were to see the first students returning to campus. There have been 2 assessment Saturdays to date, and students who receive special education services are beginning to receive those services in person. In the photo in the corner, you'll see a kindergarten student having a great time in adaptive PE with Mr. Kintarsi last week. We do expect to bring our first cohorts of students with moderate to severe special needs back on next Tuesday. The next phase after that, so that's the first special education moderate to severe phase. The next phase will be focused on providing group instruction to our students with mild to moderate needs, as well as our English language learners after Thanksgiving break. And pending our acceptance of our TK to 2 waiver, we may have an opportunity to bring back our students shortly after Thanksgiving as well. At this time, there is no process for applying for a 3rd through 5th grade waiver to bring students back in the hybrid model, but we are in a good position to be one of the first people to bring back 3rd through 5th if we go through all of these protocols and we get our TK students back successfully. So that is our phased in process in order to get students back, test it out, make sure we've got everything in place for the next group to come back. And we're going to build on our successes. And in all things, whether virtual or in person, we are guided at Center Street by our collective vision and our commitment to developing creative, confident, compassionate learners poised to contribute to a dynamic world. And the values of community, authenticity, resilience, and excellence for all of our students are evident in all that we do. At Center Street, Cougars care.
And at Richmond, we are driven and guided by, we activate, transform, and empower at Richmond. Through pandemic and health, we are committed to continuing to activate, transform, and empower students to be critical thinkers and be tenacious in this very difficult time. So thank you again, board members, Dr. Moore, cabinet, and my fellow colleagues for allowing us to present together about where we were and where we are going. We are incredibly proud of the hard work our students, families, teachers, and staff have persisted through these past several months and are confident that we will continue to press forward with excellence and compassion.
Thank you so much for this presentation. It's wonderful to see all the changes that have been made to transform our distance education program from what it was in the spring to what it is in the fall. It's just remarkable. All right, open it up to board members for your comments or questions. Paulette.
I was just curious, are you experiencing a high degree of learning loss, not much learning loss? In that category, what are you experiencing with our students?
So I can tell you that at Center Street, we did reading assessments on, as we do every year for our TK to, well, all of our students, but our TK to 3, or not our what were our kindergartners TKs last year, but they're our 1st through 3rd graders this year. And we had about 62 students who were below where we would expect them. And typically we're in the high 20s or the low 30s. So we definitely saw some learning loss last year. And we have a plan with our reading specialist and with our teachers to address that. Additionally, we added in Lexia. The entire school district added Lexia in as a intervention, and all of those students and most of our younger students are using Lexia just to build on that.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay, thank you.
And at Richmond, at Richmond, the teachers are tracking students. And so what they've done is they've looked at the data of how students perform prior to distance learning with like their reading inventories or their lexile levels, and they're comparing it to how they're doing it now. So they're a couple months spread apart. So the last reading inventory that most students did was in January, and then the students then retook it in the fall. And based on those scores as well, it doesn't look like there's been an incredible loss of student learning, but the teachers are very in tune with who does need additional support, have communicated with me, Mr. Aleshik, Ms. Leonard, and we are definitely on top of the students who are needing the additional support.
Excellent. Very good. I like your hats.
We didn't get an explanation for the hats. I assume it had a safari theme, so that's what we're looking at. Oh, okay.
It was in connection to the jungle theme of our slideshow. It was like, welcome to the jungle as we're traversing the jungle through these uncharted times.
Yeah, okay.
We thought we needed a few smiles and humor tonight. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I do like the theme, and I do want to say good job putting the monkey on the Survey Monkey slide. That was very nice. I'm just curious how the feedback is. I know we talked a lot coming into the fall about simplifying how many websites, how many apps, that families had to navigate. How is it going now? Like, has it been simplified enough? Are we satisfying those who were feeling like they were pulled in too many directions? What's it feel like?
I think that's a very fair question and a fair concern. I think sometimes it's kind of hard to navigate away with some of these sites because they all serve a different purpose. But I know that the teachers have tried to simplify how the students log into some of these platforms by teaching families how to bookmark into a student's Chromebook screen so that the students just have to log in and they log in one time. I will say I've seen students become really resilient, even with Zoom, because Zoom sometimes will kick students out. And instead of having a meltdown, I've seen students say like, oh, I got kicked out, I'm gonna go back in. So there really has been the students are just so resilient. And I know the teachers we've done a lot of tricks, like they've sent out the Zoom links in a calendar invite for the entire year. So students just have to go to their calendar and click a link. Our teachers are very explicit in how students access website.
That's great.
And I was out in I happened to be out in TLC today with Dr. Moore and Mr. Abi'i and Mr. Aleshik, and walked into our room with our grade level, our upper grade students. And they were all on, they were all doing their work. They were very independent. There was people who were working with some of the smaller students, but all of the kids were on and engaged.
There was a huge difference between what I saw the first 2 weeks of school and what I saw today. It was transformational in seeing the kids and their confidence level in navigating and knowing what to do.
Yeah, that's great. I know it is a jungle for a lot of people, and I do appreciate the ramp up time and the learning. And these are life skills. I mean, today's world is all tech stuff. So, you know, it may not be pleasant to get into it at first, but these are going to be skills that will help them all going forward. So thank you for leading them through this. So thank you.
Yeah. Any other? Yes, Nancy Cobb. Unmute yourself, Nancy.
I wanted to compliment you for doing the walkthrough process. I think that's really a great learning device, and it shows a great trust among your teachers to participate in that. I also thought it was a very interesting dichotomy between families that chose distance and hybrid learning, because we've essentially ended up with all distance learning at this point. But I was just wondering if you are getting any feedback, if parents are happy with the decision they made, or are there really any differences at this point? Is the product essentially the same because we have to do distance learning right now?
So at Richmond, I haven't heard any feedback yet, but we are getting a couple of emails of families who are somewhat hesitant, because if we are opening, they're just wondering what their options are to stay home. And for families who have chosen distance learning, they want to know if they have an option to switch into hybrid learning once second semester comes. But it's not a large number of families that are emailing.
Yeah, Nancy, the rigor has gone up considerably. And if you go back and look at the data, there are several people who think that there is too much going on right now, as opposed to the spring where most people thought there was too little. So I do believe that we are really seeing some really good progress with our students based on a much more rigorous year. I do think that we are going to see some people who, once we are possibly opening, wanting to bring their kids back, although they chose distance. And likewise, there may be, and I've heard a few people who have said that they're planning on bringing their kids back. So we're going to be doing some shifting. That'll be Dr. Lee and Mr. Aleshik and I, another big puzzle for probably over the Thanksgiving holiday.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay. Well, thank you. Yes, Dr. Moore.
Yes, I just really want to say, you know, at a time where there's so many challenges that public education is facing, I just really want to give my heartfelt, warm congratulations to Richmond and Center. What a delightful presentation to bring a safari theme and yet provide the data, and definitely uplifting, provides hope, and it also validates and affirms certainly the hard work that all our teachers and certainly you as administrators are doing on a daily basis. So I just want to say this was exactly what I had expected and had wanted our board to hear. And so I just really want to commend you for doing just an outstanding job, because you're first out of the gate and you set the bar high. It's a very competitive administrative team. Your colleagues are all watching, so let's see if they can do any better. So anyway, great job. Outstanding, truly.
Yeah, thank you. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
think the elementary schools always have a leg up because they're so creative with their imagery and their themes, and it's always so much fun. All right, that was our only presentation of the evening, so we're going to move ahead to the consent agenda. So if someone would please move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move approval of items A through I.
All right, second by Tracy Miller-Zarnicki. Any discussion on any of the consent agenda items? They're all pretty routine.
I want to, in these times, item E, was the high school internships. And I really wanted to thank our business partners that have continued in this time to allow our high school students to have that opportunity. This core class is having a lot of change and things, and I'm really thankful that they still have that opportunity.
Yeah. All right, then no further discussion. I'll go ahead and call for the vote. Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Okay, and Paulette? Aye from Paulette. Okay, thank you, Paulette. Nancy? You're muted, but I saw your lips move, so. Aye from Nancy. Okay, Emily?
Aye.
Aye. And Tracy?
Aye.
Aye. Aye from me, 5-0 for the consent agenda. Next, we'll move on to action items, acceptance of gifts.
Yes.
Emily,
we have two tonight, one from Kroger for $22.89 to Arena High School, and the second from South Bay Music Association, $770.12 Center Street School. And in accordance with our board policy 3290, seeing no conflict, I move approval.
Seconded by Tracy Miller-Zarnicki. And advisory vote, Benny?
Aye.
Paulette? Aye. Nancy?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Aye from me, 5-0, acceptance of gifts. Next, we have the approval of Resolution 11, 2020 to 2021, the week of the school administrators. Dr. Moore.
Yes, it's with a great deal of pleasure that I bring this item to the board this evening. Now more than ever, our administrative team is working tirelessly on behalf of our students, and we continue to strive each and every day to look at more opportunities to get our students back on campus. So today, Ali Rabihi and I had the great pleasure of visiting the sites and just thanking them for the work that they're doing in honor of this board item for the week of the school administrator. And we provided each of them Excellence Through Equity, which is a book by Pedro Noguera and Alan Blankenstein, which is about leadership to guide the achievement of each and every student. And so we greatly appreciate and value the work that they're doing. We realize it is a tough time in public education, and I am so proud and thankful and blessed to have them each one on this team. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Emily Lane, let's have you read the therefore be it resolved, because I think it speaks to this particular item fairly well.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the El Segundo Unified School District Board of Education encourages all communities to join together to honor the week of school administrators, and that all school leaders be commended for the contributions they make to successful student achievement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I move approval.
Thank you. And seconded by Paulette Caudill. I just want to say, yeah, especially this year, it's been such a challenging year for everybody, but I think especially for our administrators, and the fact that they've been able to switch gears so quickly and lead the faculty into adopting a new way of teaching is just remarkable. So we appreciate all of our administrators. Any further comments or discussion on this one? Okay. Then Benny, your advisory vote? Aye. Paulette? Aye. Nancy?
Aye.
And Emily?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
And I for me, so 5-0 to approve the resolution for the week of the school administrator. Next, we have Resolution 12, 2020, 2021, rescinding and amending the elimination of classified services. Dr. Moore.
Yes, as we find opportunities that are permissible under the health order to allow students to return to campus, we then create a need to restore positions. And so this is really a good news item. We have a wonderful athletic trainer who previously was laid off. And so this is to rescind and amend her layoff so that she can work with our students with the youth conditioning or the youth sports athletic conditioning in stable cohorts. So we look forward to, the opportunity in the future to continue to bring back our classified staff. They have been so committed and thoughtful in their work. And this is another good news item that I bring with a lot of pleasure. And this brings a lot of happiness on behalf of our kids as she provides a vital service.
Right. So then I did want to point out that even though we're bringing her back, it is in a reduced capacity because of the workload that we're happy to be able to bring her back, even if it's for the 4 hours a day. That's wonderful news. Okay, so motion to approve from Tracy Miller-Zarnicki, seconded by Paulette Caudell. Any discussion? Then Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Nancy, your vote?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
And Tracy?
Aye.
Aye for me, 5-0 to approve this resolution. Okay, moving on to board policy and administrative regulation 4119.11. Dr. Moore?
Yes, items D, E, and F all deal with the United States Department of Education enacted new rules and regulations regarding Title IX and enacted protections against sexual harassment, addressing the rights of students and due process as well as staff. So these items are now aligned with the requirements.
So that will apply to items D, E, and F.
Correct.
But we'll take them all separately. So a motion for item D. Moved by Nancy Cobb, seconded by Paulette Caudell. Any discussion? And Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Paulette? Aye. Nancy?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Aye from me. So 5-0 to approve administrative regulation and board policy 4119.11. Next is board policy and administrative regulation 5145.2. Need a motion to approve. Moved by Nancy Cobb, seconded by Paulette Caudell. Any discussion? Okay, then Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Paulette? Aye. Nancy?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
And Tracy?
Aye.
An aye from me, so 5-0 to approve EP and AR 5145.3. Next, we have board policy and administrative regulation 5.7 and 5145.71. Motion to approve from Emily, seconded by Nancy Cobb. And any further discussion? Yes, Tracy?
Can I just say some of this language that we're adopting and some of what is coming down, obviously from the U.S. Department of Education, makes me a little uncomfortable with how we're going to move forward if we come up with these incidences, which I hope we don't ever come up with incidences like this. But if and when we do, I'm a little concerned about the security of the victim and the safety of if someone does have an accusation. Are we allowed, I don't know who can answer this question, are we allowed to implement further supports, which I know we already have those sort of things in place through our counseling and social emotional stuff, but can we be more thoughtful than what some of this regulation suggests with the people who are bringing these cases forward?
Yeah, we were all trained in this, and the regulations are very clear as it relates to the due process and the investigation that takes place. I think that typically families or employees that are the one to bring the matter forward are often the one who would like to see action immediately. And we're going to have to really do a thorough investigation and will not be able to act as swiftly as previously because there will be rights to the accused as well. So what will need to take place in that instance then would be any supports that we can provide through our various supplemental mental health or emotional support systems and programs that we have, whether that would be a site counselor, referral to Care Solace, a small group counseling setting, whatever that might be to allow for that individual to receive those supports. So it's a very different situation, and we are required to follow that and do it in a very thoughtful, deliberate manner.
Yeah, I realize this. The process is a lot more lined out and drawn out than what we've done. I just want to make sure that there's a cushion or some support for the person who's feeling victimized in that time, so that it's not just, spinning your wheels, waiting with nothing that we can do to support that person who feels that way. But again, I'm grateful we already have a lot of social emotional support built in. I just want to make sure that we're using it well if,
yes,
God forbid, we come across these cases. So
yeah,
that's all I wanted to say.
Sure, and I believe, they want to be sure that a thorough investigation is done, that the accused is provided the appropriate due process, and there is not a rush to judgment. So those are the protections being afforded to the other individuals. So,
got it. Thank you.
All right. Then Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
And I vote aye, 5-0 to approve item F. Moving on to item G, approval of addendum to the master agreement with PBK Architects for the Center Street Elementary School 2021 bond project. Dr. Moore.
Yes, this would specifically allow PBK to begin work on design for the chain link replacement in the areas of the fencing that are problematic at Center Street. In addition, the library media upgrade at Center Street and the front drop-off improvements. So that is a safety-related issue, and these are all projects that were outlined in the long-range facility master plan and identified as phase 2.
All right. So motion to approve this item from Tracy Miller-Zarnicki, seconded by Nancy Cobb. Any discussion? Yes, Tracy?
So I know we're just approving the process to go forward. If we have questions about specific things in those projects, should we save them for later, for input at another time, or can I ask questions now?
I have Dr. Ferris on standby, so if he could join us at this time, we're happy to try to answer what we have, but we are also in process, kind of keeping that in mind. Well,
Right. Yeah.
Iris.
Hello. I don't want to jump the gun here of when we're supposed to ask questions, but I'm just going to say when I see some of these items, I'm thinking about. I'm curious what kind of energy efficiency things we're talking about in these two items that mention that. That's part A. And again, we don't know yet. That's okay. I'm glad to hear we're talking about energy efficiency. My second bit is when we start talking about the front of Center Street School, I want to talk about at some point when it's appropriate, not chopping down all the trees that are out there. So that's my other little two things that are just on. I'm gonna put on the radar. I don't know when it's appropriate to say it, but I'm saying them now. So.
Well, I will certainly make note of both of those items. And just to echo Dr. Moore's comments, so we're at the very early stages of this. We made sure to build into the contract with the architects that we want energy efficiency and any upgrades that can be made as we take on these projects to be considered. So those were written into the contracts to make sure that that is part of the consultation that's happening. So there hasn't been a specific proposal on one of those items yet, but the intent is that we are looking at every opportunity to take advantage of that. And as far as the drop off goes, we don't exactly know what those improvements are going to be. We have there's an emphasis on both improving safety and diminishing the amount of pedestrian cross traffic that exists, while also protecting parking or even expanding parking. So there's a lot of big ideas out there, and we'll certainly be bringing every one of the ideas to you guys for consideration. And we appreciate the concern about the trees. Absolutely.
The trees can't speak for themselves, so I'm just going to be that person for now. So thank you for taking those forward into the whole process and ready to comment when it's appropriate during that process.
All right. We moved and seconded, right? So ready for the vote on this. And it's good, Tracy, that you brought that up as the architects begin their work. So
figured it couldn't hurt.
Yeah. All right. So Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Paulette?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
And Tracy?
Aye.
Aye from me. So item G is approved 5-0. Moving on to item H, approval of change order 1 for TLC and Richmond Street School project. Dr. Moore.
Yes, this is for Kirksey and Company through Omnia Partners to provide the furniture for the El Segundo High School library project. So we're very excited about this. And both Dr. Gooden and Mrs. Devolantis have worked in taking a look at what that plan would entail and the colors and the selection. So I recommend approval.
All right. However, that is item I, and we are on item H, which is the change order for the TLC and Richmond Street School project. Oh. You're muted, Dr. Moore.
Yes, this is for change order for the Learning Connection project that took place at Richmond Street School with Graves Construction.
Okay. All right. So motion to approve the change order number 1. Moved by Nancy Cox, seconded by Paulette Caudell. Any further discussion from the board on this one? I think we discussed it in closed session. So, all right. Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Okay. Paulette? Aye. Nancy?
Aye.
Emily?
I, with my still, we've got to watch change orders. I am concerned as we go through the bond process, our facilities master plan, that we tighten the change orders.
Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't give you an opportunity earlier to discuss. So thank you for your comments. Tracy?
Aye.
Aye from me. So item H, change order number 1 has been approved. Item I, and Dr. Moore already has explained to us that this is the furniture for the high school, and we're really excited about finally moving forward with this modernization project. So item I, a motion to approve, please, from Paulette Caudell, seconded by Tracy Miller-Zarnicki. Any discussion on item I? Okay, and Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
All right, I bet you're excited about this one. All right, and Paulette?
Hi, I'm excited about this one.
Yeah. Nancy?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so 5-0 to approve item I. Next, we have item J. Dr. Moore.
Yes, item J is also a piggyback contract with Kirksey and Company through Omnia Partners. And this is for furnitures and furnishings for 3 spaces, the Richmond Street office, which has received modernization, the El Segundo Middle School office that also received full rebuild and modernization, and El Segundo High School, the attendance office area. And this is in process. We are only looking at options at this time.
Okay. Motion to approve item I. Moved by Tracy Miller-Zarnicki. Second. Seconded by Emily Lane. Any discussion on item I? All right, Benny, your advisory vote.
Aye.
Paulette? Aye. Nancy?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so 5-0 to approve item I. Next, last action item is item K, which is approval to enter into agreement with Siemens Industries to replace 2 HVAC units at Center Street School. Dr. Moore.
Yes, this item is from deferred maintenance, and we have 2 units at HVAC units at Center Street School that have come to the end of their life cycle. And so we are having trouble, and with COVID-19, we need to have well-functioning HVAC systems to ensure the safety of our employees. And so this would replace, this allowance would replace both units at Center.
Okay. Need a motion to approve? Moved by Tracy Miller-Zarnicki, seconded by Nancy Cobb. Any discussion on this item? Important safety consideration, so thank you for this. Benny, your advisory vote?
Aye.
Paulette? Aye. Nancy?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
And I vote aye, so we have 5-0 to approve item K. And now we move into information pending action. Dr. Moore?
Yes, both item A and B are once again the final 2 policies dealing with the U.S. Department of Education enacted rules regarding Title IX. So our Assistant Superintendent, Marisa Janicek, brings these today for your consideration only. These are information pending action items and will be brought back to the November 10th board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have our informational calendar. Dr. Moore?
Yes, it's hard to believe November will be upon us starting next week. So for November, we only have one Board of Education meeting, and that is on Tuesday, November 10th at 5 p.m. And then we do have one important community event, which is our El Segundo Ed Foundation Ladies Night Out, which will be a virtual fundraiser on Thursday, November 19th. So get your tickets. I got mine. And that's from 7 to 8. And then we do have our Thanksgiving recess the week of November 23rd. In addition, I do know at the elementary schools, they'll be having parent conferences the week of the 16th, but school will still be in session. And we have a couple of PTA meetings. We've got the high school on the 4th and our council on Monday, the 16th.
All right. So moving on to board members' reports and discussion. So Paulette, why don't we start with you?
All right, let me be the first to wish everybody a happy Halloween. And I hope you guys enjoy the virtual candy that I sent you. Guaranteed not to cause you weight gain. Oh, I was able to participate in a Zoom presentation about Red Ribbon Week, and which is October 23rd through the 31st. And the theme of Red Ribbon Week is be happy, be safe, be drug-free. And we're very proud that the City Council presented to Road Committee, Reach Out Against Drugs, a proclamation that highlights Road's mission. We feel that, wow, that was really nice. And lastly, I participated in the Skechers Walk, virtually, guaranteed not to cause blisters. Oh, and I also, on the presentation, I want to add that I was with the 2 students. It was a Zoom presentation. It was Sophie, and she's an ASB, along with Nick, their vice president. And it was really a very nice presentation and what Red Ribbon meant to all of us. I was really proud of our kids.
Right. Thank you, Paulette. Nancy, why don't you go ahead with your report?
Thank you. I first want to thank the elementary schools for the great presentation and particularly to acknowledge all of the work that the teachers have been doing. I'm well acquainted with what the elementary teachers are doing because my 2 grandchildren are enrolled and I'm the parent who's there watching. And I just have to say, I really, really appreciate the work that they went to this summer to get ready for this. And also they keep tweaking it and making it better as we go along. So I am extremely impressed. And I know of a lot of districts where that training didn't take place, that kind of investment in the faculty and by the faculty didn't take place. And I think we're very fortunate to have that in this district. I also, representing SoCal Rock, want to share that they do have new classes starting in November. And they've also applied for a significant grant, and it's going to be focusing on the medical pathways. I think that these are some of the essential workers, and of course, if we can train them, they can get jobs. So I'm pleased to see that happening, and we will be having a 3rd workshop as we do studies to figure out what our financial future is. So I'll be letting you know what's happening next. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Emily Lane?
Yes, I last week attended the middle school PTSA virtual meeting. It's nice. I think they it started slow, but there was up to, over 20 parents attending. And having been at the middle school for a little bit, we don't get that many at the meetings on campus. So I'm glad people are taking advantage of the Zoom meetings. They did start with music that really got that meeting going. I thought, wow, maybe we need to pump up the volume a little bit. But I think the PTA, they're going over their budgets and figuring out how they can support and change things up a little bit in this virtual distance learning. So I thank them for their continuing on during all this also. I don't know. I think we all know, and I think we take for granted. I hope the public is reading emails and seeing that we submitted our waivers for Richmond and Center Street. I heard that we were one of the only lately that got every check mark done as we turned in. So again, as we talk about the Administrator Week, thank you to our administrators and cabinet for getting that done. It's that revolving process. I think it's a little relief to finally be able to turn something in instead of being told and it change on us. So thank you for all that. Thank you to all the groups that have submitted the letters of support for us. I think that will go a long way in helping us take that next step. Other than that, my son Wyatt comes home tomorrow from after 2 years, so I look forward to a little quiet November, spend some time with family, and I'm sure everyone is looking forward to the holidays. And lastly, I'm getting text updates, which is the best thing on the Dodger game. So go Dodgers tonight, and just exciting times in LA sports. So hopefully it's good news moving forward with our schools also, and we can get back to a little normal. I know our students need it, and I know our parents and our staff. So I look forward.
All right, thank you, Emily. Tracy.
Yeah. Let's see. Last week I was able to attend the Social Emotional Committee meeting, and we had great conversation that Ms. Janicek organized about everything we're doing, looking at what we've done and how we're going to move forward into reopening. So thank you to the whole committee for that. We did virtually participate as a family in the Skechers virtual walk. So that was good. And I hope our numbers of enrolled virtual walkers was good again this year. What else? I think, thank you. I will reiterate what Emily just said. Thank you to everybody who put in the hard work on the waivers and getting it done right. Thank you, Dr. Moore, for overseeing all that. And to all our administrators that worked on that and doing all the check boxes. Really nice to see that it was done efficiently and in there. So fingers crossed that moves forward as efficiently as any bureaucratic thing can. And I guess last but not least, I'm gonna put this on. Y'all see this? Got 1 week. Make it happen, people. Thank you.
Thanks for the reminder, Tracy. I just wanted to make a special mention about Administrators Week. And, we're down an administrator because we had a resignation last spring. And I don't think everybody recognizes that not only the great work the administrators have to do in terms of getting us through this pandemic, but we're down a position. So that involved reshuffling people and people taking on more responsibility. And so I think oftentimes that extra workload is taken on, for the benefit of the district and often goes unrecognized. So I just want to personally say thank you to all of our administrators for your dedication to the district and to our students, to the teachers, to the families. And I think it's great that we have a week to recognize you, but I'd like to say I want to recognize you all year. And it's not just because I ended my career as administrator, but I do definitely understand the work that goes into running a district like ours, and I'm very appreciative. And thank you, Dr. Moore, for leading the charge on this waiver. I don't know where we'll be in the queue for approval, but at least it's in the queue. We have all the necessary partners signing off, providing letters, and I hopefully that will be taken into consideration by whomever is reviewing those application packets. So thank you for all your work, and I thank you to the board for all your hard work too. And we're coming down to basically a couple of last meetings this year before the change, and just I don't want to get teary-eyed or wax nostalgic at this point. I've got a couple more meetings, but thank you, everyone. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Jeannie, for that acknowledgement of the team, and thank you for the acknowledgement on the waiver. Yeah, it really, I'm just so thankful and want to just express on behalf of the board our gratitude and appreciation to all of the parties involved who assisted in getting these letters ready. I mean, it does take a village sometime, and this process took a village. So special thanks goes to Tanya Nodar from the El Segundo Teachers Association as president. I called her and she was Johnny on the spot and took time on a Thursday evening after she had taught all day to get this letter to me that evening. So thank you, Tanya. And then also, of course, thank you to our ESTA bargaining team under the direction of Cheryl Charney and also Andrew Sayano from CTA. In addition, so thankful for our classified association leaders through CSEA, Margie Espinoza, who watched this evening. Thank you, Margie, and William Ochoa, our president. We're so thankful. You didn't hesitate. You were right there for us, and we're so thankful. In addition, our PTAs, I don't think people realized, but we were a little bit in a predicament where the state PTA came out and said, don't sign letters of support. And so we had to have a conversation in council, and once again, who are our leaders? But Paul Lanye of PTA Council said, if your unit wants to write the letter, write the letter. Heather Sutherland, president at Center Street, stepped up and they got the letter. They were all in favor over there after many questions. And then at Richmond Street, Fry Freed is president at Richmond Street, helped us get the letter. So those were all our required letters. But then in addition, I think just very much El Segundo, you know, our city council put it on their agenda without a blink of an eye. And we had the letter from Mayor Boyles, 5-0. The whole city council voted in without any hesitation to support us in this process. Our El Segundo Chamber under Marcia Hansen, once again, no doubt comes in with the letter signed. And then, of course, last but not least, our steadfast and dedicated El Segundo Ed Foundation letter from Carol Perstick and Frank Lynn. So, you know, today was very exciting. I received confirmation, as I shared in the board's presentation, that both applications were received, and then they did indicate it could be 2 to 3 weeks, as I had shared with the board. But it was good to see. I didn't just send an email and it went into the ozone. That no, the email did get received by DPH, and we're in the queue, so to speak. We have not been approved, but we're at least in the queue. So that's good. In addition, in preparation for the waiver, Mr. Ali Rabihi and I went out to the school site to take a look at center to see, okay, if we're bringing students back, what are our classrooms looking at? How do they look? What is still in the classroom that will need to be removed? Because it is important to note that once you file for these things, that whether it's childcare or specialized services for students in a limited capacity, the Department of Public Health is coming and doing supportive visits. And so during these visits, they provide the site administrator with feedback on what needs to be removed for a room, or you know, this is something you need to look at or correct. And so it's not done in a punitive way, but in one as a supportive guidance and correction necessary. So so we took a look today, and with Dr. Monahan and Mr. Oleshik, and Mr. Oleshik is all over this, and we are on the road, and we talked about, you know, bringing things to a conscious level about what needs to happen. In addition, as I shared with during the elementary presentation, wow, after a month of seeing TLC at first and now TLC a month later, our kids are resilient and they were really doing well. I kind of snuck in behind a couple of them and waved at the teachers, and the kids all had their headsets on, so they weren't disturbing other kids. I saw Miss Leonard, I saw Miss Sweeney at Richmond Street. So it was good to see our teachers and them seeing that, we're out and about and visiting classrooms. And lastly, on a good news note, I received word from the California Credit Union this week that one of our teachers, out of 10 people selected, Fong Yusuf from Richmond Street School, was granted a $500 grant from them for teachers to benefit students in Los Angeles County. And Fong is the Project Lead the Way teacher. So she submitted a project for her Project Lead the Way students. And of course, she impacts all the students at Richmond Street School. And so I congratulate Fong and Dr. Lee. It's always wonderful to see how talented our teachers are, and that out of 10 individuals in the entire county, she was one who was selected. So congratulations, Fong.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. There are no communications from the audience at this time, and we will not recess to closed session. So at 6:16, our meeting is adjourned. So good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Go Dodgers.